People often comment about how cool it must be to be creative. Well, here's some insider knowledge. Creativity is a rather burdensome gift. About once a year, I find myself inspired to undertake a new project. The year of the cupcake kicked off on Super Bowl Sunday. I was invited to a party and didn't want to arrive empty-handed. I got the idea to design cupcakes that looked like a football field. Easy enough. And my contribution to the evening made the crowd go wild. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. You think the guests were cheering because the home team was winning. But you weren't there. I know the truth. They were cheering for my cupcakes. So what should I create next? With spring around the corner, I began to think about what kind of flowers I wanted to plant in my garden. And that's when inspiration hit. I decorated my table with blooms of my favorite flower in confectionery form. I closed out the spring season with a beehive cupcake display. Now that I was feeling confident in my edible art, I couldn't wait for summer to begin. We kicked off the season hosting a summer camp party, featuring cult films on the TV and ants on the cupcakes. It seemed only natural to arrive at my sister's pool party with a school of bitter fish. I also made a beach sand cake to support the aquatic theme. Now it was time to focus my energy on Halloween. I made creepy cupcakes for my guests to choose from. Who knows how much time I spent creating all these works of art? I lost track somewhere in the middle of the pumpkin patch. I can't attest to the taste, but that wasn't the main focus anyway. I'm a sucker for an artistic motif. Next was the year of bread. It was a great thing to bring to holiday gatherings. I'm sure I looked cool as hell walking in with a loaf of bread of my own making. And the best part is that it's made without preservatives, making it a healthy choice. And the worst part? It's made without preservatives, making it hard as a rock by the fourth day. I then decided to move from the kitchen to the bedroom. I was having a hard time sleeping and heard that lemon balm can be helpful with this problem. I decided to sew a pillow and stuff it with the herb so I could breathe in the scent while trying to fall asleep. I don't know if the cure was resting my head on the night sky or the lemon balm, but I was finally sleeping through the night. I took so much pride in my newest creation that I needed to keep sewing. I made a pillow to provide back support while sitting at my desk. I made pillows for my friends. I made a pillow for my cat. I don't want to say she was unappreciative, but it seems that she still preferred my pillow to hers. Now that I was finally getting a good night's sleep, I decided to focus on other ways to help improve my appearance. I read somewhere that ground coffee makes an excellent exfoliant. Since I drink an obscene amount of coffee anyway, this seemed a perfectly eco-friendly solution for those used K-cups. The other ingredients are all standard household items, making this an easy project to create on a whim. And to combat those pesky zits, a combination of honey and tea tree oil. This next beauty challenge is a hard one for me to face. I began to notice some gray hair growing in. I don't want to dye my hair too frequently as I don't think that's very healthy. I discovered that tomato juice is a good remedy for redheads to combat grays. And if it doesn't work, the remaining juice will just end up in a Bloody Mary mixture. While I was proud of my natural remedies, other members of my household didn't exactly share my enthusiasm for the projects. Needless to say, my husband couldn't wait for this year to come to an end. But when our passions align, he does benefit from my creativity. And when it comes to Halloween, he cherishes my creative streak. No store-bought costumes for this couple. Perhaps my creativity is hereditary. When I was a child, my mother made a lot of my Halloween costumes. Don't ask me where she found the time between running a household and running after me. But before you accuse me of being spoiled and overly sentimental, let's take a look at some of my mother's other projects that left us scratching our heads.
Hey girls, check out what I made.
What is it?
It's paper! I made a piece of paper.
Wow, that's pretty cool. How'd you do it?
It's real simple. You need a blender, newspaper, water, a bowl to catch the water, a screen, paper towels, a brick or something real heavy, a pan or something with a flat surface, a rolling pin or something to push it through the screen with.
You need all that to do what?
Well, you have to cut up the newspaper into small pieces and put it in a blender with some water to make mush. And then you pour it out of the blender onto a screen. Then you have to use a cup to push out all of the water. You're probably going to have to do it around 3 or 4 times to make sure that all the water's out. Then you have to roll it out on a flat surface when you think it's dry enough. Then put it in on the paper towels. Then put the paper towels on a flat surface where you can leave it for a couple of days to dry out. You have to put something heavy on top of it to absorb some of the water.
A couple days?
About 3 or 4 will finish the process. After a day or 2, you can remove the brick to see if it started to dry out. Then let it dry on its own.
So it took you 4 days to make this piece of paper out of a larger piece of paper? It took me 4 minutes to go to the grocery store to buy this full-size stack of paper.
I swear to you, that's the way it actually happened. But her finest moment was yet to come. Growing up, we didn't have many traditions in our household, but there was one very sacred one. When it came to birthdays, they were always celebrated with a Cookie Puss cake from Carvel Ice Cream. And the birthday girl got to choose the flavor of ice cream that went in the cone nose. It was a totally big deal to us. And then, one year, things went horribly wrong.
Do you know what time Lila's getting in?
I think she'll be here in a couple minutes.
I got a receipt in case I got the wrong size. Mom,
Yeah, you got the wrong size, but she can return it.
what are you doing?
I forgot to place an order for your sister's Cookie Puss cake, so I'm making one myself.
Do you know what that even says? It says Puss Cookie. Happy birthday!
They didn't have a Cookie Puss cake, so I tried to make one for you.
This is great! You have a one-of-a-kind Puss Cookie.
That's my wacky creative family. From that day on, every year I insisted that someone create a Puss Cookie for my birthday. I require a one-of-a-kind creation to mark the occasion. I wonder what this year's Puss Cookie cake creation will be. What will I be so passionate about that I'll want to have it committed to cake? And as usual, I'm left wondering, who will I be the next time you see me?
pace and stay in line. The train pulls away on time. Race through the turnstiles on the concrete. Feel the aisles in every seat. All through the tunnel underground. The subway hums a numbing sound. Open the doors to the walking feet. Empty faces fill the street.
It was kind of the center of the universe.
The one place where you could find whatever you were looking for.
Memorable.
Amazing.
Fabulous.
Community under one roof. Fun.
Awesome. It was a great place.
There was just so much to do there.
Can't say enough about the Bazaar.
Aaron Milner was the general manager, and somehow he got my name and approached me at my luncheon on Garrett Road, which I opened in 1949. And he sat there for a couple hours with me, interviewed me, and got back to me and said he would like to have me open up a food house in the Bazaar. The Oak Restaurant Company, Inc., that was the name that we gave it. We thought that we used the oak tree and we would grow like an oak tree. That's how the name came about.
As a kid, being inside the cafeteria, my dad would bring me there, my brother Bill, my sister Susan. Every Saturday we would go there.
The entrance to my cafeteria in the hallway, they used to have the curtain, the drop curtains. I paneled it all off and made an entrance. And also a service station facing the aisle. We could serve through the window. It would create an increase in sales for our business. And it did, it was a great help. Not only sales, but letting the public know what we have. And that's the important. Once they try our food, they would come back.
All the food was pretty good at Larry's, whether it be the barbecue beef, the best hot sausage in Delaware County, this side of Eddie's Hot Dogs.
I like the hot dogs at the Bazaar. That was my favorite thing, and the pretzels. They had the best pretzels in the world.
Bernie Melnikov, he was a great boss and a wonderful friend.
Bernie's was originally down, I guess you'd say it was located toward the north end of the Bazaar, across from the frame shop. Bernie's sister-in-law owned the ice cream store that I worked in. He bought her out. He relocated down to a more central location. He would work 6 days a week. You would see him drive by you on the streets coming out to the Bazaar in his white van. You just can't picture him a day where he didn't wear the white uniforms.
My dad started working at the Bazaar in Bernie's when he was a teenager, just looking for a job to make some money, twisting pretzels, baking pretzels.
Jimmy and I got hired at the same time. Jimmy was running the pretzel end of it, and I was running the rest of it. And eventually when we merged, we had to kind of learn from each other on how to work the whole store. You got inside, you flicked on the lights, and you started up the dough. So you started pouring in the gallons of water and getting the flour ready so you'd have a mix ready to run. And each mix was a 50-pound bag, and you would actually make 20 boards of pretzels. 20 boards was probably 500 pretzels. So while you're mixing that, you drop that into the twister. Meanwhile, you start cleaning out the ice cream machines, so you're getting ready for the next shift. And once the mix is ready, you throw the mix in, you start twisting, you take that back into the walk-in, and we could put out anywhere between 3,000 or 5,000 pretzels in a morning.
Bernie's pretzels, man, as soon as you walked in, the smell was just overwhelming. I'm still a major soft pretzel guy to this day. I just love them.
It starts with the secret sauce, the ingredients that we put into it. And at the time, there weren't any pretzel bakeries around. And that was the only place to get them. And that's where the reputation started. Well, unfortunately, Bernie passed. His wife, Cecilia, took it over, and I give her a lot of credit.
My dad came to own Bernie's Pretzel Bakery when Bernie had passed away, and my dad at the time was somewhat managing the place, and he had purchased it from Bernie's wife.
Bernie had that recipe, and Jimmy has it now, and I can tell you, I can go out to a place, look at a soft pretzel, and know if it's Bernie's or if it's another competitor or these new people that are out. No one's going to have the pretzels that Bernie's makes.
It was a good product. It was always fresh. It just became an icon of the Bazaar, along with the cinnamon buns in the bakery.
Well, the bakery originally started with a handful of products. It started with the cheesecake, and it started with the cinnamon buns. People would call them cinnamon buns. They would call them sticky buns. They were basically a bun that you would roll up. You would roll up a long tube and cut them into about 1.5 inches. You would smear a pan and put them into that pan and let them all bake together with this smear that was created from sugar, shortening, some jelly, some honey. Put all that together, flip it upside down, and now you had a nice sticky bun. We would bake them right up until the end of the day, and people would come in. They'd buy 2, 4, 6, 8 boxes, and sometimes it was very difficult to keep them on the shelves. I think what made the cheesecake so special was the recipe and the way that they were made. The cheesecakes were made in huge trays, and inside those trays they would put the fruit on the bottom. They would then fill the batter into each of the pans, and then they would sprinkle the cinnamon over the top.
Few people worked harder to establish the Bazaar's far-reaching reputation than Aaron Milner, who was there from the beginning. He worked closely with Saul Morgenstein, the executive director, to promote the Bazaar's concept to local merchants and convince them to open stores there. When Morgenstein left in the mid-1960s, Milner's managerial responsibilities were expanded. For 3 decades, Milner worked tirelessly to keep the stores occupied and ensure that shoppers could always find reasonably priced quality merchandise at the Bazaar.
Mr. Milner was someone who you kind of just had a great respect for. He was a very quiet man, a gentleman, but you knew he was the one who basically set everything into motion.
I do remember Aaron Milner ran a very tight ship. He knew how to put different merchants together in order to attract people.
My father was a very fair man, relatively conservative, very good business, had good sense, good business sense.
From what my dad told me, there was a lot of merchants that came into the Bazaar with nothing. He would work with them. He would help them with their rents, and a lot of people made good families and good businesses out of, Mr. Milner's help.
In the beginning, my dad had a few reservations about opening up. Mr. Milner calmed him down, and he says, "It's a good spot. I think you'll do good here." And it was the best thing my dad ever did.
The man was always doing something. There was always some sort of PR blitz. He was always doing something to attract people to the Bazaar, and it worked.
One of the most well-known and unusual promotions marked the Bazaar's first anniversary.
It was still a lot of Cold War mentality, and they set up, this bomb shelter, and the family lived in there.
They were challenged and was offered some reward if they would stay in the bomb shelter for a period of time.
We were afraid of the Cold War, the Iron Curtain, and the drills.
Drop and get under your desk and all this kind of stuff.
My parents had really decided that they were really doing it for civil defense. To really, could a family really live there for a week?
I was a clerk in A&P on Baltimore Pike there. I asked permission from the company to do it, and they okayed it, and I turned around and all the food and all that we were going to eat, I shopped in my store and I bought all that. You'd look in the window and here's all A&P products. That's why the personnel manager from the head office turned around and handed me a check when I got out.
When I first found out about it, it sounded exciting. The whole real concept of what we really did didn't sink in until we were actually there.
The movie star and I think Miss Pennsylvania and all that put us in the shelter, and they made a big to-do of it.
They had them right at the front doors. I think when they first got in, there was like a little novelty, like everybody would go by to look at them.
We had everything you should have had in a bomb shelter at that time. What they recommended.
First aid kit,
Your
everything.
Yeah, first aid kit, flashlights, canned foods because they don't go bad, water supply. It was fully stocked.
We had canned food only.
How'd you cook it? I can't remember.
We had
On
a little
Bunsen
stove,
burner?
one of those stoves.
No refrigerator.
No TV.
No TV.
There was always people paying attention to what they were doing and when they were going to come out.
We never understood the fascination that the public had with watching us. It was the beginning of a reality show.
We had the homework with the kids, but we talked to the people. There was always somebody asking us questions, from 9:30 to 9:30,
It was very close, for children, for 7 days to be in that small area.
The best recollection that I have of hearing at the time was it really was not very comfortable, and I don't think nearly what today's technology or comfort standards would be.
I like to read, so I read, and my teachers made sure that they gave me plenty of work to do. But there was one time where my brother got a little rambunctious on us. And he was climbing up the bunks and running around the 9-foot by 12-foot area.
If you would have filmed them the first day they were there till the day they let them out, you would have seen a big difference in their personalities. I guess living in a box or like a bubble like that, you know, with the kids and the parents, it was pretty bizarre.
We won the shelter, but we had no place to put it.
We lived in a
row home.
Row home, no place.
We gave it back to them.
Other promotions of the early 1960s ranged from displays of modern technology, beauty contests, and auctions.
When there was an event, everybody came out.
Herb Edelman was our advertising man at the time, and he was always doing a lot of crazy advertising to promote the bazaar.
But I remember they flew a helicopter over.
I think they had a drawing, and you go by the drawing and you're taken up into the helicopter and up there for a short ride.
They brought a real capsule in there, and I can remember being able to touch it and getting up and looking inside. That was very special to me. And the carnivals were also a big event for us.
When I was 9 years old, I won a pony at the bazaar. They had a Labor Day drawing that I participated in. We lived on the other side of Westbrook Park Elementary School, so we walked the pony home through all the alleyways. And I remember initially my dad at Baltimore Pike holding his arms out, stopping the traffic as I walked the pony home.